few minutes. Key person. Ready. Tom, how are you tonight? It's lovely. Down in my good 4 seasons, didn't have time to play golf.
The golf course is at the lake and
They're all dried up right now, big time. They're not. Yeah,
you want to play golf in Missouri, you go to Plains.
you know, I haven't been to the lodge. A lot of people are the same.
It's exhausting.
It's still the same. And then margaritas.
Yeah, lipstick on the pig.
Yeah.
It's not much better.
Sold 4 years ago. So wait is looking at it. Yeah. Wasn't up in COVID. $1,000 a month. Yeah.
So. Emotions.
No. My wife. When you give me that.
Right.
I had to take the boat out. And cover. Come back and then.
It's a motion for homes to do it on a regular.
When the kids stop coming down.
It's like an order. Circle it. And we circle, it's the same.
I still enjoy that.
I've charted the course. I just.
Where's Kim?
That was quick.
Maybe like his restroom.
We'll give her a, there she, we'll give her, Laura, wait for Laura too.
I don't take five. It's so busy.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is for the grant we're working on right now. That's an I won't get in. And so everything's things. So. Yeah, just something. Well, you're worried about this. Perfectly, except for this.
I live in Sullivan.
35%. It's free. Winter, so start running back.
Yeah.
Change.
Right.
And that's, okay, actually, all of a sudden, ability to percent.
Yeah.
The different matching.
Okay. Yep.
Before you start, Mr. and Mrs. So. That's what you're saying. Well, it's fine. You don't have to, but
Yeah.
I just want to let you know.
Every 10 acre, every acre.
There was a tree here.
No, no, it's a big one, to be what I'm saying. If you imagine that, kind of hassle.
It's not different.
That, what was the other one, there? This was. Anderson County. We had the. It was that one.
No, right. It's kind of like. No one's been here.
Yes, good.
Let's go ahead and close it, and they can just postpone the vote until we make sure. Let's do that to get it off.
So
the
which-
agenda.
Still talking.
It's over here. Right. it's at, 4.
Last month.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's at 5.
Yeah,
Hold on.
because I, yeah, because I was working, like 8:40, and then I was kept this, they were just like, work. I'm like, well, but that's not everything. Almost 20-25 minutes.
Not mine.
Because I'm pretty much just off highway, you know. And, getting on the highway.
Yeah.
You know, I have to make it leave, like if I have to pick up the checkers.
Okay, let's call the Board of Aldermen meeting to order. June 21st at 7:15 PM. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we got, the next order is an invocation, and we have a person that requested, Manny, you here to give the invocation?
Will you bow your heads and pray with me for a moment? In the beginning, when you said, "Let there be light," you were already here, Lord. You know the end from the beginning. You know everything that will happen before ever it happened. You are greater than great. There are no words to adequately describe how great you are. In the name of Jesus, God, I ask that I rebuke every unclean spirit that would try to come in this building and cause confusion and make people upset with each other and fight with each other, God. And I'm asked that you bring unity to this city, God, and bless the city. And I ask that you give Justin, Mike, James, John, Keith, Mark, Dave, Laura, Kim, and Tom wisdom, God. I ask that you give them wisdom. Don't let there be any fighting, Lord. Let them have unity in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Okay, Kim, would you call the roll?
Mayor Gatway,
Here.
Alderman Caslow.
Here.
Alderman Gettemeyer. Here. Alderman Johnson.
Here.
Alderman Underbach.
Here.
Alderman Wendling.
Here.
Alderman Whitman.
Here.
Hey, any items of, on the consent agenda that, anybody has any question about?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
And a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Got a second by Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Here none, the consent agenda is approved. Public comments. Kim?
Yes. Michael Waldridge.
Good evening. My name is Mike Woldridge. I live on Benefit Street in Dardine Prairie. I would like first to thank Mayor Godway for his help last month getting I-3 to resolve a problem that we had. And they were out within a couple of days and resolved the issue. The second and main reason why I'm speaking is you were talking about the visioning process. And I want to remind everybody, or at least remind you, I guess, that at the February 8th meeting of the zoning commission, James Knoll talked about the council, or I should say the board, discussing this matter and specifically stated that it included Bryan and Mers Farm, Town Square, including technology and post. So it was that whole kind of triangular square area. And this request started from the zoning commission. And I don't remember how many months ago it was, but we set a 8-month time frame on that. So with that being said, I think we're, 4 months into this, and we were looking at maybe trying to have this done in 8 months. So I would like the board to consider doing a moratorium on accepting any applications for development of property in this area until such time as this visioning process is done. I mean, it can't be forever, it can't be indefinite, but some reasonable time, because by the time this gets done, you could have a half dozen projects that have been submitted, and it's not going to comply at all with the idea of the visioning plan. So I would like you to consider that, because it's the only way we're going to protect that area and kind of get it the way we want. The idea of a developer coming in and telling you what you should have, we can listen to it, but it's like, I don't need another Amazon or Target telling me what I need to buy. And I think it's important. Pardon me?
Thank you. Your time is, oh, hold on. Is it expired or not?
I just set the
You have
timer.
another 3 minutes.
Oh, well, then I've got 3 more minutes and I'm on a roll. But you get the
I heard
message.
The timer go on.
The only question that I have is, I understand there was an application for this committee at the zoning meeting. I know that Ed Edscorn and myself volunteered to be on that committee. No one has said anything to us about a need to submit an application, nor have I received an email on it, and I'm on the email list, at least through your website. I don't know how that works. So if I need to submit something, let me know and I'll put my name back in.
Well, you're already in. You're already in. You're on the list. You submitted.
I didn't submit anything except my name.
I got an email saying that you.
Oh, well, I said I was interested,
Okay.
but I didn't know if there was an
Send you the
application.
application.
Yeah,
As long as you know.
it's pretty simple.
Cheryl Bratton.
My name is Cheryl Bratton. My husband Larry and I live on Cruden Bay Court in Inverness subdivision. At last week's planning and zoning meeting, an attorney requested approval of the final PUD Prairie Encore proposal. In doing so, the attorney stressed that P&Z's vote was to be based only on the 4 standards presented to the commission on behalf of Coleco LLC and nothing else. I assume the board will receive that same reminder tonight. But before you vote on 2328 this evening, remember, the city of Dardenne Prairie has its own set of standards. In fact, one of the required steps is that the developer has to provide written answers clarifying problem spots identified by Dardenne Prairie City Engineer Tom Weiss. A list of those questions and answers are included in tonight's packet. The answers were submitted by Ingenuity Engineering on Coleco's behalf. Of particular concern are 2 questions referring to the widening of Bryan and Feisty roads. Sheet C500, letter A, instructed Ingenuity to, quote, provide clarification on the status of the coordination efforts with the city of O'Fallon for the roadway improvements and with the utility companies for any relocations/adjustments. Ingenuity's response was that the roadway improvements are currently being coordinated. Yet, an intergovernmental agreement between O'Fallon and Dardenne Prairie for Bryan and Feisty road work hasn't yet been put to a vote in O'Fallon. It's counterintuitive for this board to believe that coordination of roadway improvements has occurred before an agreement has even been reached by O'Fallon City Council. The second question, sheet C500, letter B, reads as follows. In addition, the future construction drawings will require detailed off-site roadway improvements for both Bryan and Ficey roads, which includes all fully signalized intersections, entrances, and widening improvements. This will be a separate set of plans to be approved by both cities. What is the status of these plans? Ingenuity's answer was that, quote, a note has been added to sheet C500. The construction drawings are not finalized at this time. Yet, if the construction drawings are not finalized at this time, the presumption is that Calico's request for approval of the PUD final plans for Prairie Encore is nothing more than premature. It's simple. If construction drawings aren't finalized, then final plans are indeed not final. Mia Rose, Calico, Ingenuity aren't the only ones with standards. Before you vote on Bill 2328 tonight, thank you for remembering the city and residents you represent have standards as well. In closing, and on another note, if you approve the proposed PUDs before the comp plan gets revised, it's the same thing as teaching a class and then announcing the expectations and writing the lesson plans after the fact.
Joel King, 2 Toussaint Drive, here to talk about Stump Road. In the last meeting I was at with Mr. Green gave his proposal. There was a change of no sidewalks. They took away some of the sidewalks. But we've always been told if you make any changes, it has to have a new drawing made up, which costs a lot of money. And it has to get approved by East West Gateway to make sure we still qualify for the money. And I'm just curious if that was done when they removed the sidewalks, because if they didn't, then you should easily be able to remove the third lane. So it would be so much less intrusive to the people who have lived there for 30 to 40 years or more, which is the main thing we don't want, is that third lane in front of our house. The turn lanes again at Ficey and N, sure, do it. But apparently now we don't need East West Gateway approval when we take stuff away. Now, in reference to the apartment complex debacle that's going on there, with the $1 million homes that are around there, shouldn't this complex complement it? And when you look at these drawings, they don't. I'm sorry, that is not. Go to the complex, the 4-story complex across from the St. Peter's Recplex. It's basically all brick. I think probably about 90% brick, maybe some stone. Why isn't this one looking as high quality as that? And also, if you go past their Mia Rose complex right down the road from the proposed one, look at the grass. Are there any provisions that the stuff has to stay green? Or is it just, can it just all burn out like that one is? Let's keep it looking halfway decent for the residents. If you're shoving it down our throats, remember now, nobody approved it except for 3 aldermen and the mayor. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Excuse me, and I did bring a PowerPoint this evening for you in your packets and following along. And I'm sorry, I'm Elizabeth. Oh, there we go. I am so sorry. But it's nice to be here in front of you again. My name is Elizabeth Lum. I am here on behalf of the developer of the Encore project. If you would be kind enough to turn to the third page of your packets, we are here tonight for a final plan approval. This is, as opposed to being a zoning process, this is simply a ministerial process. The Supreme Court opinion in front of you lays out that it is ministerial. Boiled down, it means that you have one issue to consider, and that issue is, does this plan comply with your ordinance? And the answer is yes, and you'll see in the slides that follow. The final plan is to conform with the approved area plan, and it does. The elevations have not changed. Landscaping has not changed. The density, lot sizes have not changed. The city has conditionally approved the stormwater runoff. The developer has agreed to dedicate public facilities in accordance with your ordinances. With all of those criteria being met, the plan does comply with your ordinance. And there is little leeway besides that. I am happy to take any questions that you have. Oh,
Oh, yeah, this is not a question and comment session, but yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry.
if it was a public hearing, yeah, but yeah. Okay, all right, thank you.
David Miller.
My name is David Miller. I live in Cruden Bay Court in Garden Prairie. I want to thank you for the opportunity as I take some time to discuss the role of the board and the influence of special interests. As a reminder, a democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Comments at one of the meetings last December, one of the aldermen referred to citizens taking part of the democratic process as being special interests. So I look in front of me. I'm eager to observe the progress of our new alders, Gittemeyer and Whitteman. In speaking with them in the past, I know that they understand the tasks they're assigned, which is to take care of the city and their constituents. Mr. Wandling and Mr. Koslow, I want to thank you both for your candor and engagement with the citizens. It means a lot for us to truly know what you're thinking and not hiding behind the dais and not responding to emails. Mr. Ungerbach, you did originally vote against the Prairie Encore project, but then mysteriously voted for the tax abatements, even though the citizens will have to pay the school taxes that are not going to be paid by Mia Rose. We are all scratching our heads on the rationale of that decision. Mr. Johnson approved the Prairie Encore despite the fact that tax abatements provided would leave the school district out of the picture. But Mr. Johnson made certain the EMS was not part of that abatement, but it's shocking to find out that he's on the county ambulance board. Also heard that Mr. Johnson has a strong union background, but doesn't seem concerned that Mia Rose uses Midas Construction for its projects. Midas Construction has a long history of hiring non-union workers. Mr. Johnson, you were the alderman that told us we were special interests. It appears that you have put other special interests above those of the citizens. Mr. Mayor, please listen closely to the presentations that will follow tonight, because it's a Christmas miracle. You have told us that no one is going to come here and offer a project without tax abatements. Sad to say, that's not happening tonight. Mr. Knowles, who's not here, is not an elected official, but has told us during town meetings that developers don't want to come here because of the citizen reaction. You might want to look at what is happening behind the dais as the reason developers may not want to come to Garden Prairie, as they can't predict if something unethical, immoral, or borderline illegal will come from the mayor at any given point. We are done listening to the spin from the mayor and the administrator. You've made this city a laughingstock in St. Charles County. Fortunately, those laughing hardest are the folks from Mia Rose, as they are laughing all the way to the bank. Nice to see that Mr. Kamen couldn't make it tonight. He's too busy on a jet getting dinner, but he can't afford to pay taxes. Thank you.
I'm here to speak on the occupancy inspection ordinance. I think it's a big mistake to even put that through. I see the merit in these things. I do them all the time. And the bottom line is, no matter how these this whole thing's been getting spun, this is, it's the whole, getting rid of this ordinance is just to appease the real estate agents that don't want to be bothered with having to do them. And most of the time, they don't have to do them. It's done by the seller. But once in a while, they do. And I've been up the front desk when they come and seen these guys come in and bitch and moan and whine and cry because they got to do this. What are we here for? You want to make sure the people that are moving into our city have a house that's as safe as it was when it was built? Or do we want to appease the real estate agents? That's the bottom line. I know after the last meeting, Alderman Coslow told me, well, that's not the reason we want to do this. It's because I'm against government getting into people's lives, in their house. And this is done before the people move into the house. And I haven't heard anybody complain about moving into a city where their house is going to be safe before they move into it. If you want to get rid of this for that reason that he was giving me, then why are we doing inspections on decks and basement finishes and swimming pools, hot tubs, room additions? We do those so they're safe. That's the whole idea. So if you know, it's going to be up to you guys. It doesn't make any difference to me. I really don't like doing these all that much because they're a pain, but I see the merit in them. Because I see these things getting fixed. If I call on something, it has to be fixed. If another guy comes in or another home inspector, it doesn't have to be fixed. They negotiate it off the price. Maybe it'll get fixed, maybe it won't. We don't know. But at least this way, we know the safety things are fixed. That's all we're doing. We're not doing aesthetics. We don't go retroactive. We don't charge for the re-inspections. You know, it's not that big of a hardship on anybody, but occasionally it's an inconvenience to the real estate agent. So who do you want to look out for? Real estate agents or the citizens that are moving into our city? Thank you.
Okay, so, move to, open up public hearings. We got 3, got a motion to open public hearing number 1.
What are we doing with the first one on there?
Well, we're gonna postpone it, I think. Again,
Oh, postpone the public hearing?
the public hearing, or no, we're gonna ask to close the public hearing on this. We'll postpone the, ordinance.
Okay, you want to take care of that one first?
Yes, okay, got a motion to, close the public hearing for the reason. Oh, is there any speakers to speak on the, rezoning of, 1.5 acres,
Currently none.
1755 Hanley Road? No one to speak on it?
Move to
Then
close the
I'll have a
public hearing.
motion.
Move to close the public hearing.
Got a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Justin, Mike seconds.
I have a question, why this is even on our agenda, because it's still an agenda item on planning and zoning. Probably should have never come to the board yet, because it's not been resolved, the planning and zoning. So delaying it is
So would
doing
the
the
proper
same thing.
motion then be to remit it back to planning and zoning?
It's already on planning and zoning's agenda.
What would the proper motion if we want to clean that up? Because you're right, we keep hearing that it's not done in planning and zoning, but it's on our agenda. What proper course of action? That would be a question for.
Well, the public hearing, it's very common, we post the public hearings at the same time for
Mhm.
P and Z and for the Board of Aldermen. So that's why the public hearing is on. As to why it was brought forward as an agenda item with the public hearing not having been considered, I think that's just, again, a matter of common practice to have added them, but I can't speak as to specifically why it was added. I think perhaps common.
There's still questions about it in planning and zoning that have not been resolved.
Understood.
So to be clean with procedure, would it be appropriate for us to send this item back or what would?
Well, that item is still at planning and zoning. It hasn't come out of planning and zoning, so For the mayor's recommendation is to close the public hearing, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And then to postpone the bill until after a recommendation is received by the planning and zoning commission.
We can just say postpone until then, we don't have to
Correct.
say the date.
Yep.
Thanks, sir.
Still move to close the public hearing.
That motion.
Got a motion and a second,
Still second.
close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Here none, we're gonna close the public hearing on the rezoning request. 1755 Hampton Road. Motion to open the public hearing. The PUD and rezoning request for area plan. Peterstone,
So moved.
Second.
got a motion by Mike, seconded by Justin, all in favor? Okay, we got, open the public hearing, anybody to speak?
Wait for him to load my PowerPoint presentation. Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen, City Attorney Young, my name is Matt Siegel with TriStar Development. With your permission, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Young, I'd like to combine public hearing number 2 and number 3 into one public hearing.
Wishes to make his comments on both in one, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, if you want to make comments.
Yep.
Both.
Presentation covers both in its entirety,
Yeah.
so that's what we did on the Planning Commission, and it seemed to work pretty well. Once again, my name is Matt Siegel. I'm here on behalf of TriStar Properties and our development partner, Budrovich. You'll be hearing from myself and Skip Stone of Budrovich. Before we get started with the presentation, I'll start this very similarly to how I did at the Planning Commission. I know that the city has gone through a lengthy process with PUDs over the last year with various projects. All I ask, similarly, that how the Planning Commission conducted themselves, is that you look at my project on its own merits, completely separate from anything that's occurred at the city over the last little while here. With that, we have a project called Cedar Stone. Next slide, please. The location is at Post Road and Technology. We have it's approximately 30 acres plus or minus, fronting Interstate 64. It's triangular in shape and runs along Post Road, which is on the adjacency of O'Fallon and Dardine Prairie. Next slide, please. The project's history and to date, Payne Family Homes had this project under contract in 2018. I actually was working there at the time, and we took it all the way through, and I'll show you, the next slide will show it. But we got please go back to the next slide. Will show that an area plan was approved for residential only. At the time that site plan was approved, the reason Payne Family Homes did not do the entire site was the city council suggested, consistent with the comprehensive plan, that they wanted the frontage of approximately 15 plus or minus acres to have higher density uses, retail, office, multifamily, bring in density to support the commercial users that were up and down the interstate and the town center, Target, and grocery anchors specifically. Nothing has occurred with the site since 2018. Payne Family Homes did not end up closing on the site. TriStar put the project under property under contract in 2022. We met with city staff in July of, actually in March of 2020, May of 2022, and got some feedback, and then had further discussions in July of 2022. And in July of 2022, it was suggested to make sure we had just multifamily on the site. And it was suggested to us that we really needed to bring retail to the location. The existing trust that owns the property also invests in retail. So I met with the trust and its representatives, and over a period of time, we were able to negotiate a deal where the trust came into the partnership, and the trust is going to build, or is proposing to build up to 30,000 square feet of retail and own it. That trust owns other retail assets in the corridor, most specifically up the street on Technology, the shops at Winghaven, just up the street. So that's part of the strategy of why this opportunity works, is the seller will be staying in the deal and making a retail investment for their portfolio. In March of 2023, we came back to staff and to council in a planning session and showed our plan, which is similar to what you see tonight. I understand we have a couple new council members, so I understand you weren't in those meetings, but the plan that we brought forth was consistent with the objectives that we've been told over the last year plus: retail, multifamily, residential. So that's what you'll have in front of you. Last week, in front of Planning Commission, we did the same presentation. We received unanimous approval. I think it's important to point out residents who are unrelated to our project and here on other city matters, we're applauding our project. We're saying this is a great project. After the meeting, quality developer, you're doing things right. Your land uses are spot on. You should be proud of the way and what you're bringing to the city. So with that, I'll show you what we like to propose. Next slide, please. Just for point of reference, for history's sake, this is what was approved. The residential portion, it's very consistent with what we're doing. 40 plus or minus lots coming in off a post road, very consistent with the post road corridor where you see streets ending in cul-de-sacs, traditional suburban residential development, move up homes that are very consistent with Dardenne and what the city is about. Next slide. Mixed use plan. So this is our plan overall, and we'll get into the greater detail on this. What you have is the residential in the rear that we talked about, and then along the Highway 64 frontage, you have 30,000 square foot of retail space that we'll show you a couple different layouts that could occur. And then you have a 220 plus or minus apartment units that all are interior corridors that will front Highway 64, and then have a corridor between, and then you have apartments on the rear of the site as well, and buffering the residential homes from Highway 64. Next slide, please. And with that, I'll turn it over to Skip, and he'll go over the single family portion, and then I'll finish up the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. My name is Skip Stone with Butterovich Land Development, 10328 Lake Bluff Drive, St. Louis, Missouri, 63123. My name is Skip Stone. I'm the Vice President of Land Development for Butterovich. Butterovich has been a construction company in St. Louis for over 75 years, providing various different construction services to a lot of different customers here in St. Louis. Ultimately, we would acquire this property that consists of the single-family residential, and we would develop the lots for Consort Homes. They would be the builder in here. Consort Homes is a local home builder. Their ownership has over an 85-year history. Bob Jones, Howard Chilcutt, Ken Stricker, the Jones Company, most people remember. So these guys at Consort are the old principals at the Jones Company. We've built several nearby neighborhoods here in St. Charles County with Consort, notably Windsor Park out along Highway 64. If anybody's familiar with that. Consort does offer a wide variety of homes from ranch, 1.5 and 2 stories. In this particular neighborhood, these homes would range, the ranch homes would range from 1,800 square feet up to almost 2,600 square feet. And the 1.5 and 2 story homes would range from 2,300 to 3,500 square feet. All of these would have 3-car garages standard. Prices in in this neighborhood for these homes would start the upper 400s, 480s, 490s. And most likely transact for some of the larger homes up near the $700,000 mark. That's kind of the summary on the single family residential. I'll turn it back over to Matt, but I'm available for questions later if you have any.
Thank you. The commercial design, as discussed, 30,000 square feet. It could all be encompassed into one building. Next slide, please. Or it could be broken up into 3 separate 10,000 square foot buildings. Some of the users that are possible: restaurants, health club, general retail, professional services. One of the strategies is that right now the space up at the shops at Winghaven, they're fully occupied. They have inquiry, and so there's the opportunity to move some existing tenants to these shops, or just continuing to build upon the momentum in the area. Next slide, please. As I said, restaurants, health, fitness, professional offices, healthcare, retail, service. With 30,000 square feet, there's the potential for 15 new businesses in Darien Prairie. This will be local shops, local restaurants. All local is predominantly who would be attracted to this type of space. Another possibility would be something similar to what you see here. This is up the street, where you could have your retail on the first floor, and then there could be med office or professional services up above. Flex type retail in this location goes pretty well. Looking into the multifamily, as you see, as we've discussed, 220 plus or minus units broken up into 5 separate buildings, plus the clubhouse and pool. You would have, it's bisected, a courtyard spine going down the middle. These multifamily units are different than what the city has previously approved over the last several years. As I said, there's no exposed corridors, stairwells, everything's interior on these units. So it's just a little different design. We've gone with a farmhouse modern architecture look, masonry materials, batten board, hardy. This would be, if you were flying a drone from Highway 40, this would be what you would see along Highway 40. As you see, you have your pool, your clubhouse, fitness center, leasing center all up front. And then you have your the spine, as we talked about, the courtyard going down the middle, that connects everything. This would be what you would look like between the 2 buildings along the courtyard. Some of the units would have balconies if you're on the 2nd and 3rd floor. If you're in a garden unit in this type of scenario and design means that you have a porch, you open up your screen door and you can go right out and sit on a porch along a garden area that's professionally landscaped and maintained throughout. The elevation, as I said, farmhouse modern. You've got mixed metals, masonry, all high quality materials is our intention. Elevation. Next slide, please. And then just to summarize, the difference between this and other developments, when mixed use, when it's getting approved, somebody who's building a consort home, if you were to approve this, they know what is around them. It is, they're buying their house next to a multifamily apartment complex. They're buying their house next to a retail center. There is no questions about it. We are a mixed use project in its entirety. And there's no separating any parts of it. The deal to work, everything's got to be done at one time. If we grade it, the whole site's getting graded at one time, we would immediately start the single family upon whenever we have the appropriate permits. The retail and apartments would go in when the market is appropriate. Retail is going pretty well. They'll start their first building at the appropriate time for us. I told the planning commission, I very upfront about it. We have other projects in the area. We have other projects in St. Louis, St. Charles. I watch the supply demand thing, at the supply demand side. While I'm of the opinion that is not the job of the council. That's not the job of the planning commission. That's the job of the developer. I will build the multifamily at the appropriate time when the supply is there. Would I do it right now? No. Would I do it 6 months from now, 12 months from now? Probably. But right now, I keep an eye on the supply side, and I would wait. Benefits of the project. This conforms with previous desires of staff and elected officials, creating a true mixed-use development. Point two, no incentives. I can do this on my dime in its entirety. We'll increase the retail sales tax base of Darting Prairie. Like I said, potentially 15 new businesses. Increase the density to grow town center commercial district. Heard about that for the last 18 months. Put density, you'll grow the town center commercial, grocery, Target, it will benefit by it. And the whole corridor will benefit. Diverse housing stock, help make post road improvements a reality. I want to touch on that just a little bit. Coming out of planning commission, some of the questions were, right now, staff is working on post road improvements, working on grants, design. We were approached by city engineer, and planning commission asked us about, would we help out? And the answer is yes. The seller of the ground, who will be keeping the retail, when the city puts the post road improvements in, that part, the corner of Post and Technology, because we don't own that. There's a corner that the city will have to work with an existing landowner to construct improvements. We've agreed that we will help out. The retail owner of the ground said that he would be happy to acquire whatever's left over and incorporate the future project to make this all work. So helping make the post road improvements a reality, that is a huge benefit of this project. And lastly, appropriate uses and appropriate locations. The sequencing of this project is not by chance, it's by good land planning. You've got houses backing to where houses are. You then have multifamily along Interstate 64. I don't think anybody can disagree. Multifamily belongs to Interstate 64. Plenty of developers have done it. It's an appropriate use. The retail use along Interstate 64 is an appropriate use as well. We don't have any, there are no neighbors around this parcel that we are going to impact negatively by doing this project. And I think that, I really hope that you take that into account, that you will not have anybody in Darting Prairie that will say that our project is negatively impacting their property values. With that, I'm happy to take questions. Sure.
Up on it, but the average lot size for the residential houses,
I believe it's 7,000, over 8. Correct.
And the retail, the demand is there. What if the demand doesn't come? Going to sit with an empty lot?
Well, I can tell you right now, the retail, when you have somebody who owns the retail space up the street, and they know if they're fully leased, logically, the demand, supply demand economics, the retail is going to get built at the appropriate time when there's users, and they're pretty confident that there's users out there right now.
Doesn't happen, then with empty lots in there.
Well,
There's no commitment of in 5 years, it'll all be complete. I mean, I think that's something that we really need is at least an end zone of when we're gonna see it complete.
If Mark will allow me to piggyback on his, I believe the PUD final plan has a sunset. It has to be completed within 2 years, if I remember correctly. Is that, am I remembering that correctly?
It's shovel in the ground.
Shovel in the ground. Okay,
Start.
then I would echo. Question is what after that.
Need some kind of timeframe.
Well, to counter you, I myself and McKelvey Homes, we were the developers of Inverness. When you develop the subdivision over 3, 4, 5 years, I don't believe you were asking a residential home builder, I need you to guarantee me 50 lots a year out of that subdivision. The market will dictate the timing of that and when it will be built. We saw during the global financial crisis, lots sat there for 10 years. So it would be irresponsible of me to go out there and build an apartment complex if the supply numbers are extremely high. So if I wait a year and a half until the supply economics come down, it's better for all of us in the economy. What I've been in development for 20 years. I'm curious, what incentives has the board given a developer in order to make sure that they build in a timely manner?
Let me pose it in a different way. PUDs are specifically have a good view of the mix, and we can say this is what it needs to look like, and something that is less desirable is allowed. It gives us that flexibility. What would stop folks if that a build it when the demand gets there? What would stop folks who just really want big apartment? So they come in with a PUD, they say, we're gonna build this giant apartment complex, but what we're gonna give you, Dave and Buster's right next to it. And I know you love Dave and Buster's, and you guys, you're going to make $100 million a year in tax revenue off it and all that kind of stuff, and it's approved. And then you say, well, the demand for Dave and Buster's is there yet. So we're going to build the apartments that you didn't want, but we won't build Dave and Buster's until, maybe 50 years from now. I think that's kind of what we're getting at is that seems like it would be right for use if we didn't have an expectation that it would be done in a certain.
I mean, my expectation is I wouldn't be up here spending 6 figures trying to get a project approved if I'm not going to build it in a timely manner. Timely manner to me means, like I said, we'll start immediately on the single family homes. The retail, I would anticipate, we're going to grade the whole site at one time. And I believe the retail, I would anticipate something going within a calendar year. Multifamily, I would presume the same, but it could be 18 months.
Sitting with town here that just us all the time, that there's all kinds of lots that are sitting vacant a long time, and that's what happened. I mean, there's, I understand where you are and what you're putting up and everything, but there's always that what if. And if that what if comes along that there isn't a demand, we're sitting with a graded lot sitting right there. No trees, no nothing, just a graded lot.
Which is what's there right now.
Some trees and stuff around. The ones that are there now, you're gonna be taking down, right, for the subdivision?
The trees, according to the last planning commission, I believe the trees were actually dropped 5 years ago on the site prior. So I have no reason to believe that we're not going to go forward, like I said, the next 18 months, but over for the entire project. But we are in a inflationary environment, interest rates, construction prices. Well, do you want to offer me incentives? And then I'll be happy to,
Empty lots.
I mean, so where I'm at is I can build a project, a market rate project in its entirety. I'm not asking for any government participation. I'm asking for, if you approve the project, I will get going in a expeditious time. But at the end of the day, I've told you, we're phasing the project, single family right out of the gate first. Retail, you'll get 10,000 square feet of shops. You could get a 30,000, so a user could come along that wants all 30,000 square feet that generates a ton of retail sales tax, and boom, now you've got 2/3 of it going. And then if you have that going, I can tell you the apartments are going to start immediately. They all feed off each other.
Not singling you out. So it's not unprecedented. You know, I recognize the difference.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna stand in front of you and say, yeah, it's all going in right away. I could, and I still have every right to delay, but I'm being very forthright, saying this is how it would work in the environment that we are in today. We are in a debt and equity. If you want to get really into macroeconomics, there's debt and equity issues going on. We are a well-capitalized company. We put 50% equity into every deal. That doesn't mean banks are lending today. There's a regional bank crisis going on. So it's a very difficult environment that every developer would tell you that it's not easy. And if they say it's easy, then they're just telling you what you want to hear. And I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth.
Okay, I got a couple questions. So in this particular piece of land, is there any extraordinary improvements required, like Post Road? Do you require to put any extra turn lanes in?
No, no.
Got a bridge that you have to build to bridge a creek somewhere?
There's no extraordinary development costs that are out there that we are asking for.
Technology, there's no, you're not required to put a slip ramp maybe off of 40 on the technology that would add cost to your project?
No, I'm very convinced that the outer service road could handle 220 apartments and 30,000 square foot of retail
No
traffic.
extra stoplight anywhere that you have to put in required?
Unaware of any stoplights that are on thoroughfares.
So if you had all those improvements to the tune of, let's say, $4 to $5 million extra cost, could you go forward with this?
No,
Yeah, without any kind of tax incentives?
I know of my project. I know of my project cost. So therefore, I'm not asking for incentives.
Right. So we're just saying, you say no incentives, but you have a standard, no incentive development.
I have a market rate. I know the
Yes.
scope of my project before I came in front of you, and I do not need incentive.
Tax incentive to everybody.
Project.
Yes, yes, it is. I'm just trying to figure out what his, what his,
No, and I want to respect what he said when he first came up and said, this should be considered and we should discuss this based on the merits of this project and not things that happened.
Well,
It's on this car project.
no, all right.
It's a political point for something else. We've
I'm
done
just-
this as council.
You had it, I know, and I get it, but you had in bold letters, no tax incentives. Okay,
We're not asking for it.
and we're, all right, I'm just,
I mean, Mr. Mayor, I know if I brought a project that was asking for tax incentives to the council.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't get approved. So it's my fiduciary responsibility to point out to the council that I'm not asking for tax incentives.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, and I'm not, I'm not criticizing. I'm just making a point that there's a reason for tax.
I know the scope of this project. The scope of this project.
Is- Councilman Cotslow said we need to stick to this.
All right.
Yeah.
I would just like to echo Alderman Gittmeyer in thanking you for not bringing any incentives to this as well.
Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So we have, a motion to close,
Anyone else?
Do we have any other speakers?
There are no speakers.
a motion to close, public hearing 2 and 3.
We didn't
We
open.
didn't
it.
open it. Just
So motion to close public hearing 2.
Okay,
Been three, I was-
okay. And a motion to close, I thought we went ahead and opened both.
You just.
Okay. Okay, so I got a motion to close public hearing number 2. Peter Stone,
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Here none, we'll close public hearing number 2 and, motion to open public hearing number 3.
Moved. Second.
Got a second. Justin, Mark, first, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we will close our open public hearing number 3. Any speakers?
No one.
They got a motion to close public hearing number 3?
Wait a minute.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
we're good. It's a formality.
Yeah, it's just a formality. So entertain a motion to close public hearing number 3. Okay,
Second.
close. Um, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Public hearing number 3 is closed. Okay, we got public hearing number 4. Got a motion to open public hearing number 4. Mark, move.
Second.
Justin, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're gonna open public hearing number 4. Okay. Any speakers? Tim?
I think the applicant is here to speak.
Gonna speak?
I think you got turned off.
There we go.
Sure.
Hi there. My name's Charlie Moline. I represent the general partnership for the Town
Can you
Square
hold it a little
Apartments
closer?
there at Town Square. And we acquired the Town Square Apartments last year from Gardner Capital. And with that, we acquired the land adjacent to it behind the Target and along Technology Drive. And we were proposing a multifamily apartment complex there. It was originally zoned for phase 2 of an affordable housing development. That's not what we're looking to do with this property. We're looking to put in multifamily, but it'll be high-end market rate multifamily. So changing it from an affordable development to a market rate with a cafe component. Oh, do we have do you have the slides for money? here we go. So we're proposing 154 multifamily here, and it has the mix. But with the affordable property next door, it's really successful to have a high-end market complex right next door. So we currently own the 2 buildings on the east side of the development. And then this is the proposed layout with clubhouse, pool, pickleball courts. We'll have EV car share program with a cafe along Technology Drive for an amenity with the residents, as well as the surrounding neighborhood. So make it some sort of destination. There's really not any amenities as far as local cafes, coffee shops, that sort of thing in this area. So we don't have a very long presentation with this, but our builder, Arco, Allen's here. We can talk about the finishes, but we'll have stone, stucco, high-end exterior finishes, and Alan, I think has some of the slides here, but they've just finished the development just the north of here. Oh, sorry. Anyways, this has been zoned previously for an affordable project, and we're looking to go back with multifamily that's market and doing away with the section 42 component. So here's some elevations with the pickleball courts, have a nice park atmosphere between the buildings with walkways and paths, hopefully intersecting to the park adjacent. Here's some interior finishes, some more of the elevations, breezeways, but a 3-story walk up. We have not asked for any tax breaks or incentives as well in this development. And the long-term goal is to convert the town square apartments that we currently own also to market apartments. That can't be done for another 10 years or so, but the goal is to make these all market apartments with garages to border the highway and the target buildings. So there's a little bit of a buffer between the retail and the residential area. Yeah, pretty much it. Do you want to talk about the finishes on the building and what you guys have done?
Yeah, my name is Alan Bergfeld with Arco Construction. So there's going to be 5 buildings plus a clubhouse, all 3-story buildings consisting of anywhere from 22 to 36 units. Interior finishes are going to be, solid surface countertops, stainless appliances, soft close cabinets, standard with what you'll see actually kind of catty corner. It's technically Lake St. Louis, but on the other side of 364 right there. Exterior will be a mix of hardy board, masonry, trying to be a little bit more modern and not so cookie cutter on the exterior side. Yeah, basically what you saw on the exterior, those images. Just go ahead.
No, pretty straightforward. So really just to change the back all the
I have a question, and let me preface this with, if you don't know yet, trying to say that, if you just don't want to tell me, say you don't know yet, that's perfect. I'm really curious, the existing apartments, if the desire is to bring those into the fold, what are you guys, what does that look like to bring those, since it was definitely falling?
2 separate developments, 2 different developers. The existing deal was developed with Section 42 tax credits. The idea is to keep them separate. We're going to have a much higher amenity package. People paying, north of $2,000 a month for these apartments versus the affordable rent restricted. So there'll be 2 completely different feels. They're separated there at the parking lot. But the goal is to convert those to market at some point down the road when we're able to do that through the QCP process with MHDC.
Right, and when you do convert those to market, is there kind of a plan for upgrades? That
They'll need a refresh at that point for sure. I mean, they'll be 25 years old at that time. And they needed a pretty heavy improvement when we got them. So we've spent tens of thousands of dollars in the last 8 months fixing up the parking lot, the siding, the stairwells, windows. So there was some pretty significant repairs that had to be done since we acquired it, and we've been pretty diligent in getting that wrapped up.
Awesome.
I understand that it's gonna be gated between.
Correct. Yep. Correct. Yeah, we have garages, and then we've talked about putting in some covered parking in the larger parking area there to the southeast corner, the largest lot potentially, but it'll have garages there on the north and south sides, both to kind of give it a buffer between the highway, trucks parking in, pulling in behind there to delivery trucks, that sort of thing. We just like to provide a buffer. And then you can see the landscape being heavily landscaped. We'd really like it to be more of a park feel in here with the proximity to the highway and noise, that sort of thing. We want to really plant as many trees as possible to make it a nice, nice community.
Coffee shop and that'll be open to the public.
Yes. Correct. Yeah, the immediate entrance off Technology won't have a gate, and then we're looking at gating the edges where residents would drive around the corners there for some privacy. Any other questions? Great.
All right, thank you, guys. Hey, got a motion to close public hearing number 4?
Speakers.
So moved.
Second.
Moved. Seconded, Justin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll close public hearing number 4. Okay, let's go to new business. And a motion to rebuild 2325 for the first time.
So moved.
Also moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. John, would you rebuild 2325 by title only for the first time?
Yes, ma'am. Bill 2325, an ordinance of the city of Dayton, Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute a professional services contract by and between the city and Weiss Design Group, Inc. for engineering services related to the city's Town Square Avenue Road Improvement Project.
Okay, we all know what this is for, right? Aware of getting started on the Town Square Improvement Project? Any discussion or debate?
No fancy slides.
Those cost extra. Don't push it.
Don't charge us, don't ask.
Move for a second.
Executed a contract.
Well, that's fair. Move for a second reading.
Got a motion for a second reading?
Second.
Got a second by Justin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. John, would you rebuild 2325 for the second time?
Bill 2325, an ordinance of the city of Dayton, Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute a professional services contract by and between the city and Weiss Design Group, Inc. for engineering services related to the city's Town Square Avenue Road Improvement Project.
Any discussion or debate?
Move for roll call vote.
Got a motion for a roll call vote by Dave. Got a second by Justin. Kim, would you call the roll?
Alderman Underbach.
Aye.
Alderman Caslow.
Aye.
Alderman Wadling.
Aye.
Alderman Whitteman.
Aye.
Alderman Gittmeyer.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Ordinance 2252.
I declare Bill 2325 as ordinance 2252. Got a motion to rebuild 2326 for the first time.
Second.
Yep. Motion by Justin, second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. John, will you rebuild 2326?
Yes, ma'am.
2326.
Bill 2326, an ordinance of the city of Dayton, Prairie, Missouri, annexing certain adjacent property generally located at 7223 Weldon Spring Road into the city.
Discussion or debate? Okay, hearing none.
Second reading.
Got a motion by Mike for a second reading, second by Dave. All in favor? Any opposed? Hear none. John, would you read Bill 2326, second time?
Bill number 2326, an ordinance of the city of Garden Prairie, Missouri, annexing certain adjacent property generally located at 7223 Weldon Spring Road into the city.
Is the owner of this parcel here tonight?
Yes, okay, would,
But I just want to say, if this succeeds, welcome to Garden Prairie. Thanks.
Guys from a resident, 2001 to 2018. I lived in Westfield Woods.
Okay.
So we moved around the corner, built a house at 73. I think we're one of the only two kind of straggler parcels owned by Garden Prairie. We also own the lot at 5024 Kenny.
Okay.
So bringing us back into the fold.
I appreciate the vote of confidence. I'll
Okay.
move for a roll call vote.
got
Second.
a motion for a roll call vote by Mike, second by Justin. Kim, would you call the roll?
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Whitteman.
Aye.
Alderman Gettemeyer. Alderman Wandling.
Aye.
Alderman Castlo.
Aye.
Alderman Underbach.
Aye.
Ordinance 2253.
I declare Bill 2326 as ordinance 2253.
Welcome to the city.
Yeah,
Welcome
welcome back to the city.
Based on previous conversation, think I'm doing the right thing, but I'll move to postpone Bill 2327 indefinitely. In lieu of the
Okay.
other bill later in the.
Okay. All right,
Second.
got a motion to postpone Bill 2327 indefinitely. Got a second by Justin. Need a roll call vote? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear none. Bill 2327 is postponed definitely. Okay. Bill 2328. Yeah.
I want to make a motion real quick, due to some deficits found with these middle, I would propose postponing. Make a motion to postpone this in order to give the city time to provide a written guidance to the developer and for them to submit a revised plan before the next meeting.
A revised plan, would you?
Correct.
Would you
Revise their submit.
Pardon me?
Revise their submit. Thank you.
Revise what? The submittal of the final plan? Or what plan?
Just make sure everything's.
Explain. I
think that an explanation would best be done in writing, not off the cuff.
Second.
I don't understand what.
I don't either. I mean,
This is approval that everything in here falls within the guidelines of the city. Which it does.
There have been some items that cause concern about completeness. And postpone until the next meeting to give the developer and the city time to. For the city to provide that in writing so the developer knows exactly what it is. Work together to that with council.
But I don't believe that's what we're voting on. I believe what we're voting on is that we comply the city and the guidelines that we already approved plans. Correct?
I mean, it
We already
should hear some
approved
kind of
everything
example of what's not complete.
It is a privilege.
Is that in order? I don't think it's in order, is it? It is. It is.
Okay, so got a motion and a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I hear one. So everybody's in favor except one, okay? Okay, yeah, I'd like a roll call vote. on that, Tim?
Mayor Crawford.
Yes.
Alderman Wanling,
Aye.
Alderman Hungerbach,
Aye.
Alderman Whitteman,
Aye.
Alderman Gettemeyer. Aye. Alderman Johnson,
Aye.
Alderman Kessler.
Aye.
Okay, so, Bill 2328 is postponed for clarity to the developer?
I do not expect it to be a huge deal. I'm just good to have everything in order.
Okay. Bill 2328 is postponed for clarity. Bill 2329.
If I can make a statement before this one, because it applies to a couple of these. We had conversation earlier today concerning these PUDs that are on the agenda and the seeming conflict they would have with our committee that we created by resolution a couple meetings ago. I'm going to make motions on these to postpone them to give that committee a chance to look at them since it does lie within that scope of area, at least after discussion about the scope, but we need to clarify it a little bit, but I believe the consensus is that this does lie within that scoped area. I'd like to read them one time first and then postpone them because I want to make very clear to the that committee that we are not disallowing these. We are not making a judgment against these. We don't necessarily even dislike these, but I want them to take it as a vote of confidence in what we have asked them to do, and that we will respect that the commission's time, and that we are not doing that just as a placate any residents, that we're taking it seriously. So I would also ask the commission if that is the path we take, we do postpone these. I would just ask that commission to make these a priority, to invite in the developers of these parcels of the proposed PUDs and make that a priority and take these on in consideration first in their duties. But with that,
I guess my question to you is, don't these fall within the comprehensive plan that we have now?
everything falls within that comprehensive plan. But if we are going by the, well, say that, they still require a change in our zoning. And I don't believe that this is necessarily RM down there or a mixed use, but that's what the PUD does, is it allows for those deviations from zoning and comes. But if we create a commission to look at this and provide us vision, it does feel like we'd be cutting their legs out from under them by saying, do this, but we're going to go ahead and make alterations ourselves. So again, I do not like postponing this because I know that there's money involved. I would ask that we expedite that and that committee look at this first.
Don't get me wrong, I hear what you're saying. I still have the problem of the end date of the completion of the whole thing. So that's still on my mind. But as the majority of the people that were here, and the planning and zoning committee, the residents were all excited and in favor of this thing. Because of not asking for anything, putting apartments up there by the highway, putting in retail development and putting in high-end homes. So, it's what majority of the residents that show up to these meetings showed up at that meeting and were excited about.
You didn't listen to them before.
Let's make it political now. Yeah.
I think that I think that you've got a point made there. I think that will probably reflect in what happens with the commission. But I don't want to put my finger on the scale.
So what would you envision, Mike? What's your envision that this commission might propose different than something like this? You don't know? You just anything?
If I knew what that was, then we wouldn't need.
Yeah.
maybe nothing.
Okay, so, all right, let's go for a vote.
So, I move to read.
Well, we got a motion, right? Or
No,
No, I just made a statement of my intention to.
Okay,
I'd like to read Bill 2329 first time by title only.
okay, got a motion to read Bill 23.
Second.
Got a second? John, will you read Bill 2329?
Bill 2329, an ordinance of the city of Darden Prairie, Missouri, approving the rezoning of approximately 18.24 acres of land from ND New Development District to R1D Single Family Residential District, Planned Unit Development, and approving an area plan for the same.
I would move to postpone Bill 2329 until such time as the new Town Square Vision Committee can provide feedback on it, not to exceed the life of that committee.
A second.
Got a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Bill 29, or 2329 is postponed until,
Let's talk after the meeting, if you don't mind.
it's too late, Mike. Sorry.
Okay.
You know,
Move to read Bill 23.
no, we can't. We can talk after the meeting, but yeah, we're out of order.
If
I
you
mean,
don't mind,
if you-
waiting, I would love to talk to you.
I'm gonna say 6 months. Things move slow. Things move slow. I mean, it's taken us.
When you drag your feet, things move slow, but let's work on expediting. I think this is a good reason to move quickly.
Encore took 2 years. Let's move on.
Read Bill 2330 for the first time by title only.
Got a motion to read Bill 2330 for the first time? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hear none. John, will you read Bill 2330 for the first time?
An ordinance of the city of Darden Prairie, Missouri, approving the rezoning of approximately 13.18 acres of land from ND New Development District to C3 Retail
Hey,
Commercial
hey, hey.
District.
Let's maintain order. Like, let's maintain order, or we can go outside and talk. John, would you can read Bill 2330 for the first time?
Bill 2330, an ordinance of the city of Darden Prairie, Missouri, approving the rezoning of approximately 13.18 acres of land from ND New Development District to C3 Retail Commercial District Planned Unit Development, PUD, and approving an area plan for the same.
I move to similarly postpone this until the Town Square Vision Committee has a chance to render their feedback, not to exceed the lifetime of that.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none, we'll postpone Bill 2330.
Move to read Bill 2331 by title, for the first time by title.
Got a motion to read Bill 2331 by title only.
So moved. Second.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. John, will you read Bill 2331?
Bill 2331, an ordinance of the city of Darden Prairie, Missouri, approving the rezoning of approximately 6.07 acres of land from ND New Development District to C3 Retail Commercial District Planned Unit Development, PUD, and approving an area plan for the same.
This particular one, my commentary would be that this is taking essentially a parcel that was originally intended to be apartments, keeping it apartments, but moving it to market rate. This is kind of within the vision of that area. I don't see very likely vision committee coming back with something different. Part of the.
The current apartments. Oh, you're talking about the previously.
The ones that are sitting there today.
This doesn't include that.
That does, so it's this is the,
Only the vacant, correct?
yes, this only includes the vacant, but
Yeah, so it doesn't include this.
Yeah.
That's out.
so, but all three parcels were. Motion to read. All owned by the same.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to get some.
Got a motion to rebuild 2331 for second time?
I think he's got a question still.
We can let it die for lack of a second, and come back to it. So you want to call it? It dies for lack of a second.
Do we have a second? Nobody gonna second it?
I'll second it.
Okay,
To read it, again.
for a second
I
time.
said more questions though.
Yeah.
I know that Justin was questioning. and I
Yeah.
couldn't hear.
No, Mike wanted to ask more questions before we read it.
Oh, I didn't hear anything down.
Yeah, Mike
Yeah,
was trying to
sorry.
ask more questions before we read it second time.
Yeah, I just wanted clarity because Alderman Ungerbach said something about this bringing the current apartments to market rate or something like that. Can I
No,
make sure I understand?
it's the, sort of this whole area was, I always understood it was parcel of the current non-market rate sit on was, there were eventual plans to expand, if I remember correctly. And so this is taking that side, saying make it market rate, cut it off from the other side.
Yeah.
So kind of always what was
Gotcha.
supposed to be done there, but better.
Totally
So
understand
I
that.
look at this parcel a little bit different than some of the others in that triangle.
So I would make a similar motion, but understanding anyone can vote nay on this one. I move to postpone this until such time as the Town Square Vision Committee has a chance to provide feedback, not to exceed the lifetime of that committee.
Before that's seconded, I'd like to, planning and zoning, it's my understanding that the commission, the council that was going to review that, come up with ideas, was the 10 acres that the city owns, Town Square Avenue, all the way to technology, then technology, all the way to city property line to the east.
Yeah, it was
It
written
didn't
as,
include that.
yeah, it was written as the Town Square area, so I read that as including Town Square at least. But I think that highlights the lack of clarity and different expectations.
Okay. The other thing, and I said this at planning and zoning, if there's ever a place for apartments in the city, it's where they were scheduled to go in before. We're lucky we don't have 3 more buildings like are there now. The new owners have come in and put thousands of dollars in repairs of poor construction, and they're proposing a complex that is much, much better. Now, they're going to redo what's there, but it's 17 years, I believe, is when it's gonna happen. So if I'm still on the board, I would vote for that.
I agree. I think that consistency is important here. And if we say that everything within that scope of I would want to stay consistent with that, but I will not have any hard feelings if people disagree.
I don't believe that was part of the scope. I wasn't.
Well, the motion's on the table, but it live or die for second.
Is there a second to postpone?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
And will you call the roll?
Alderman Costello.
Do we need roll call vote on that? I mean,
I'm asking for
okay,
it because I'm
yeah,
not
that's fine.
certain.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Nay.
Alderman Ungerbach.
Nay.
Alderman Wanling.
Nay.
Alderman Whitteman.
No.
Alderman Gettemeyer.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion has failed. The motion to reading,
Vote on the second. Already got the
okay,
motion.
got a second reading. Okay,
Did we do a second?
so did we do this?
Just the vote. Yeah,
Already had vote.
there has a second meeting.
Okay, yeah, okay, we got the motions. Can I have, who's in favor, all in favor of the second reading?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? John, will you rebuild 2331 for a second time?
Yes, Mayor. Bill 2331, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, approving the rezoning of approximately 6.07 acres of land from ND New Development District to C3 Retail Commercial District, Planned Unit Development, PUD, and approving an area plan for the same.
Move for a roll call vote.
Got a motion for a roll call vote by Justin,
Second.
a second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. Kim, would you call the roll?
Alderman Gettemeyer.
Aye.
Alderman Wandling.
Aye.
Alderman Caslo.
Aye.
Alderman Underbach.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Whitman.
Aye.
Ordinance 2254.
I declare Bill 2331 as ordinance 2254.
Yes.
Okay, had a motion to read Bill 2332 for the first time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Justin, second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. John, would you read Bill 2332?
Bill 2332, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, repealing chapter 205 of the municipal code of the city of Dayton Prairie and enacting in lieu thereof a new chapter 205 regulating animals within the city.
Okay, I think we discussed this in great detail at the work session.
Move for a second reading.
Got a motion for a second reading by
Second.
Justin. Dave seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. John, would you read Bill 2332 for a second time by title only?
Bill number 2332, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, repealing chapter 205 of the municipal code of the city of Dayton Prairie and enacting in lieu thereof a new chapter 205 regulating animals within the city.
And for the edification of those who weren't here in the work session when we talked about it, I think it'd be good to explain that this is a procedural act. We have a requirement to keep since St. Charles County provides our animal control services, we have to maintain the same ordinance there across St. Charles County. And so our only choice here is to adopt this or find another.
Move for a roll call vote on that.
Got a motion for a roll call vote by Justin, second by Mike. All in favor? Or
Aye.
Kim, would you call the roll?
Alderman Underbach.
Aye.
Alderman Caslo.
Aye.
Alderman Wandling.
Aye.
Alderman Whitman.
Aye.
Alderman Gettemeyer.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Ordinance 2255.
I declare Bill 2332 as ordinance 2255. Gotta entertain a motion for,
Move to read Bill 2333 for the first time.
got a motion to read Bill 2333. Second,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. John, will you read Bill 2333?
Bill number 2333, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, amending various provisions of chapter 125 of the municipal code related to municipal court operations.
Any discussion or debate?
Move for a second reading.
Got a motion
Second.
for a second reading? Got a second by Mark? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hear none. John, will you read Bill 2333? Second time by title.
Bill number 2333, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, amending various provisions of chapter 125 of the municipal code relating to municipal court operations. For a roll call vote. Second.
Got a motion by Mark for a roll call vote, second by Justin. Kim, would you call the roll?
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Whitman.
Aye.
Alderman Gettemeyer.
Aye.
Alderman Wandling.
Aye.
Alderman Caslo.
Aye.
Alderman Underbach.
Aye.
Ordinance 2256.
I declare Bill 2333 as ordinance 2256. Old business, Bill 2318. I entertain a motion to postpone this until we get a reading back from planning and zoning.
Second.
Mark, move. Dave, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill 2318 will be postponed until planning and zoning makes a recommendation. Okay, Bill 2323, we had a first reading, got a motion for a second reading?
Sorry.
Occupancy.
Occupancy?
Yeah, move for second.
Got a motion for a second reading? Do I have a second?
Second.
Laura seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, the ayes have it. John, will you read Bill 2323 for the second time?
Bill number 2323, an ordinance of the city of Darden Prairie, Missouri, amending section 525.010 and subsection A of section 525.020 of the municipal code of the city of Darden Prairie pertaining to occupancy inspections.
I would just like to say that this being passed would put us in jeopardy of having homes that are up to standard in our city, and or if something would happen, whether it be a fire, save a life, whatever, if it saved one person or one home or any incident, it's not worth getting rid of the inspections.
I'm going back and forth on this one a lot. I understand the rights of the property owner. I also agree with Mark on the safety side of things, and Mark mentioned things at a high enough incidence rate. I can certainly see keep for rentals, why not keep them, especially given gone out and talked to people and they didn't really see there was a problem. It's primarily coming from realtors, and if not coming from citizens, then I don't understand this.
As I talk to residents, they don't have a problem with this, and as realtors stated in the last meeting, it was not a burden for them to have this inspection done. That was their words coming.
Roll call vote.
And a motion for a roll call vote?
Second.
Second by Dave. Kim, would you call the roll?
Alderman Wanling,
Aye.
Alderman Underbach,
Nay.
Alderman Whitteman,
Aye.
Alderman Gettemeyer,
Aye.
Alderman Johnson,
Hey,
Alderman Costello.
Aye.
Ordinance 2257.
I declare Bill 2323 as ordinance 2257. Need a motion to read Bill 2324 for the second time. Oh, no, as amended.
Yeah, I would,
Did we?
move to also,
I don't believe it.
I would also move to postpone this one. We haven't had enough time to sit down and go through it, just in workshop. I think it's important. Give this one very thorough. Excited to get it on the docket, but and to get it passed, but no, we postpone.
Then a motion to postpone until
Till the next meeting.
the next meeting?
Second.
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 Dave, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, will postpone Bill 2324 until the next meeting. Okay, let's move to staff communications, city attorney,
I have nothing there.
city engineer.
Yes, sir. So as my written report, but I want to point out a couple of things that need some further discussion when James gets back, and that's one of them. There's a brief explanation about the Henning Road TAP grant. It's been previously applied for, and previous to even my being here, it's not been successful. We've worked with the road board on some successful ideas to improve our points. Some of those, one of the big ones is the cost sharing. I'd like to be able to have some more discussions with the mayor and with James about getting those extra points. One of the things we did look at from the previous written grants was it was listed and written and estimated before as concrete. There is, most of the trail is there in asphalt. It's not in terrible shape, but it does need widening. The biggest reason why this grant is coming forward is it's not a consistent width and throughout the length of the trail on both sides of the bridge. And so we did not get points for that. We need to try to make it as close to 10 feet wide, which is the current trail path standard as it's viewed by East West Gateway. So we shared with you some of those by reducing the total cost of the grant by switching from concrete to asphalt. But by increasing the match, we get points which we would never have gotten. And as you know, most of these, if you've seen the East-West Gateway list, some of these grants are obtained by as narrow as 1 point either way. Similar to Town Square, similar to Post Road. I think we got both of those by maybe 1.5 points on the ranking. So that's why we explained this briefly. I'd like to just make sure and have your permission to further discuss that with James and Mayor so that at the very next meeting, you all can decide that you're going to either match additional money percentage wise to help get the grant. I think it's really important to at least try to obtain 2 more points. And again, it's your decision on whether or not we go after the 3 points, which is 35% match. This is one of those programs that does not involve the county road board in matching funds, unfortunately. They've not funded the TAP grants the same way they fund the STP grants. But we did have discussions with them. And the other big item that needs to be looked at is adopting the St. Charles County bike plan. There's also many points sitting out there if we do adopt the plan, which we're essentially following with as many of these grants as that we write. So something that needs further discussion with James and when he gets back, and we've talked about adopting the county's plan, but you all need to decide whether you do that or not. It will gain us more points, particularly on most of our upcoming TAP grants, especially this one being one that we do plan on, depending on what the new commission tells us about some ideas about furthering our next TAP grant would be along Town Square. Because there's no good, consistent, wide trail or path along there. We all know it's very substandard. The grant that we already have for resurfacing does not include any of those costs. The county asked, oh, can you do that? No, we can't. We don't have the wherewithal within the resurfacing of the street, but subsequent TAP grants will have to be adopting the bike plan eventually anyway. So I want to point that out. So for further consideration, hopefully at the first meeting in July, the grants are due July 21st. I don't want to push too far. Okay. Cordova, I just wanted to point out, I did kind of a final walkthrough for their maintenance period. There's about 20 slabs in there that I've met with the representative of the subdivision before we will release their maintenance escrow. 20 slabs in there. We also did a walkthrough of Inverness Phase 1. Many slabs in Inverness Phase 1 before the city would take over, and I will tell you it's between 150 and 200 slabs. It's a lot. So Tim Tobin, who represents the home builders in Phase 1, and I did slab by slab analysis. He's obviously going to present that to his owners. Obviously, I may expect some pushback, but there's a lot of slabs that are cracked. We don't want to take those over, as we've all experienced the ramifications of some of that with our slab replacement program. So it's very baffling to me on why this concrete is cracking so early and so quick, especially when they've used the right mix. Base has been put down. It's been observed previous to me, but it's a mystery. But again, we're going to do everything we can to recommend those slabs be replaced prior to us taking acceptance. Lastly, I will just point out that Walnut Grove, I believe the name is going to change. But Walnut Grove, we had a pre-construction meeting on the 15th. And they're going to start clearing for that new small subdivision off of Hanley. Just all aware of that. Thank you, man.
Okay. The administrator's not here. Alderman?
Yeah, I would like to clear up some mis and false statements that was made during the public comment. There were statements where I was in favor of this because the school district didn't get their money. The developer did settle with the school district, and the school district did come here and support the whole project. I was also accused of getting taxes for the ambulance district, which I do sit on that board. I did not have anything to do with that because that is state law. We can't take the taxes away from the ambulance district or the fire department without their approval. We do have prevailing wages in this city. I cannot demand, or this board cannot in any way insist on union labor. I do ask for it because I do have the history of being with labor. I do ask them to use local wages and try to get a commitment from them to keep local businesses involved in doing their projects, to keep the wages here, to spend the money here in our town. So I just wanted to clear those statements up.
Any other Alderman?
Yep. So keeping with what I've always done as an alderman here and when I'm present, not dialed in, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and participating. I want to thank you for spending some time here. Be it constituents or developers, your time is much appreciated here. And
Anybody else? Okay, move for a motion to adjourn.
Moved. Second.
Just move.
Yes.
Mike second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Actually, vote.
My teacher.
Awesome.